cheers?
Yay.
Hey.
Green cheers.
Welcome.
Hello and welcome to the pod.
The pod. 30's Dirty Thoughtin. I'm Lorrie.
And I'm Mel. Welcome to the chaos.
And we have a little guest.
Speaking of
chaos, we have a little guest that may or may not stay the whole time, but we do have a little guest here.
He gets a little rambunctious. This is funny.
Oh
my God. Are you camera shy right now? Say hi. Oh, he's sort of saying hello. Yes.
Is that a hello? Oh, that was a wave. Okay.
It's a little wave.
Oh, or not.
No. He wants to crawl up back into his little blanket cave.
So if you hear a random voice, that's neither me or Melissa.
Herbie.
It's Herbie.
That's Herbie. If you hear random I love yous, it's Herbie. Fun facts about Herbie: he is 8 years old. Or he actually might be 10. He likes to say I love you a lot. He likes to sing happy birthday. He loves Whitney Houston. And he likes to put holes into everything. He's a bidet. He can also get a little horny. He tried to fuck my hand earlier. But that's fine.
So I had a subject that I wanted to bring up because I just saw a TikTok about it. And
yeah.
I mean, are you still on dating apps? I'm obviously not, but
all my accounts.
Okay,
I mean too.
But you have been on at least like in the past year, obviously. I just saw something. Do you know what instant dates are? It's stupid.
Actually, no. I don't know what that is.
I feel like I don't know. That? Someone tell me if this is more in the heterosexual world or not.
Instant dating.
But like, it's basically you go to a public place wherever it is, and they're just literally there, just like be there and meet up. But you're not talking. It's like they just look at you. The TikTok I saw, this girl went to a Starbucks for like, like a meetup date, whatever, with this guy. And like she sees him park, like she got there a little early, she's sitting in her car, she sees him park and like waves at him. He doesn't acknowledge it because like they're messaging on the app. They're like on Bumble or not Bumble or Hinge or whatever it is. And then he walks inside, passes her car, still says nothing, and she's like, okay, weird. And so she gets up, goes in. He closed the door on her, not paying attention. And then he just like sits down and she's like weirded out, not really sure. And then like she goes to get coffee. This man's still not acknowledging him. And
how did it come about? Like did she know that he was on an instant date?
Yeah, he asked. Like he said, well, he didn't ask. He just said, "Oh, I'm into instant dates," and I don't think she fully knew what that meant. I think in her mind and in my mind, I was thinking it's just a quick date, like a quick hello,
quick coffee.
Whatever. Not even like a whole, like, I don't know, like a 15-minute meetup. I don't know. That's what my head was thinking, and maybe what she was thinking. But it literally was like he didn't say anything to her at all. She ordered a coffee and still like nothing happened. And she was waiting for a minute because it was busy. And then just like no real acknowledgement. And then she was just frustrated and she left after she got her coffee, went back in her car and was just like, I messaged him after and I was like, that was fucking rude, dude. Like, I don't even care. And he just goes, okay, well, good luck, have a good day or whatever. And that was it. He acknowledged her, did not talk to her at all. And I guess an instant date is like, literally it's just like to come and see. It's super weird. And I feel like it may be more on the heterosexual side. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Or just general toxic people. Because I think the men ask for them mostly. I'm sure there's women too that ask for instant dates. Whatever. But I feel like it's mostly
because
men
there's a lot of
asking
catfish around. Is it because of catfishing?
That's still rude as hell. He didn't acknowledge her at all. Not a hi, not a anything. And she showed her profile on her video, like in a reply to a comment. She looks exactly like her photos. Nothing
weird though.
So the second you see her, wouldn't you be like, okay, she does look like it? I nothing. She didn't like. She has photos of her full body, her face, everything. So. I don't know.
Never heard of this before. No, the only thing that reminds me of is do you know the speed dating on Bumble?
Well, I know what speed dating is.
They find somebody for you, you match, and you only get to talk for 3 minutes.
Yeah, but that's
speed
dating in general.
And then if it's not a good conversation.
but they at least talk. So I know in terms of regular speed dating, you're supposed to talk to each other. Like instant dating, apparently you don't even have to fucking interact, bro.
Look. So weird though.
So weird and kind of rude. And if you're not feeling it, just tell me. Like, I don't know. You know me, I'm a very upfront, straight up person. Like, I just tell me what's up and whatever.
Right. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when people don't know how to communicate well, especially when you're first dating somebody, you know?
And the comments,
awful.
some of the comments also made me upset because, one, people were hating on coffee dates, of which I'm not going to say this is a sign of maturity or anything, but like there's so many comments like, no, if you're not going to put in the effort of the day, I'm like, look, I like coffee dates, especially as a person, like when you get into your late 20s, that's when I started doing them, is that it's not just about effort. Like, if you're thinking this isn't enough effort for the first day, then like, just say you're shallow. That's easier to say. Because what a coffee date does, it's during the day, it's less pressure for both sides. And
exactly.
And if you want to be shallow and have them pay for all your shit, then at least it's just coffee and stuff or whatever. But it's so you don't feel pressured or like anyone has to sit through an hour or multiple hours of a date you're not enjoying. A coffee date.
Right.
We went on a coffee date, which lasted 6 hours.
That's what happens, though.
But that's the
queer
thing.
Dating is different.
Queer dating is different, but I feel like even other queer people feel this way too. Like, this is a general dating thing. And I feel like that's the thing, though. If it's working out and you're having a good time, then you can go somewhere else after, which is what we did. And, like, coffee dates is just, if you're not feeling it in the first 10 minutes, it's an easy out for both sides. You're just, because, and people are like, oh, I don't know, this is why you should get to them over the phone and FaceTime. I'm like, even FaceTime is so completely different than meeting a person and meeting someone in person.
It is, though. It is. And, like, I've done several.
I'm too awkward to do that, which is why I literally just ask people out the next fucking day.
Which is good. I mean, I think that dating is supposed to be to explore different ways of how to build a connection. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways to do that. And why?
Does he agree?
No.
Is Herbie agreeing?
None of
Not
that.
agreeing.
Yeah, I think that's what dating is for. You know, if you don't like FaceTime, that's it. You can meet somebody up. If you don't like meeting people up,
I feel like I want...
Oh, no. Hold on.
And I still don't want to do, again...
Hey!
I also feel like people putting too much effort... Like, well, you should put effort in your dates, but, like, too much... Like, I feel like a first date sometimes can even be a ploy for people to just, like, pull out all the stops on a first, second date, but then they don't keep that energy up throughout anything else. It's all...
Oh my God.
I feel like it's theatrical to me.
I have a friend who told me that he likes to take girls on extravagant first dates and then kind of like, you know, just...
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Diminish the quality.
Your friend admitted
time,
that to you? Oh my God.
Yeah, man. First of all, okay, my friend's a Leo. I'm going to say that. He's a Leo and he likes to impress. Big impressor. All right. He likes to just like be out here spending money. Like, he told me once that he was taking this girl out on a first date to a Lion King show, to a Broadway show. I said, what? He's like, yeah. And then I had this restaurant date plan, like right after that at this like 5-star restaurant. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? You're going to pull all the stops out on a first date? What if you don't even like this girl?
Exactly.
What if they don't like you?
I feel like also with at least heterosexual dating, I am bi. I have dated men.
Oh, well, yeah.
That I also feel like, also my opinion as a queer, as a bisexual, I feel like a person who pays is the person who asks them out. I feel like the person who asks the person 100%. Out is the one that pays. And if she happens to offer whatever, you just make the compromise and say, let's half it. Don't ever let your date fully pay, but like acknowledge that they want to pay.
Once I had set a date with this girl and I went to the bathroom and she like did a sneaky thing and paid on our behalf. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't even get the chance to look at the check. But I appreciate that. When someone steps up like that, I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I wasn't expecting that, but thanks.
But like, yeah, I think it's the person who asks. But I feel like a lot of men will complain about like spending all these money on dates on women and they feel like they're owed something, which is a bunch of bullshit always. And then women will also complain about getting ready and getting all dolled up for a first date and all this other stuff. And not that you shouldn't look great and stuff, but I feel like you're putting so much stock into how you're gonna look on that very first date, and you might not end up liking that person on both sides. And then you guys are like, oh, I'm tired of wasting my time with these men or these women and all this other stuff. And it's just like, I feel like there's also that there's gonna be a realization and almost your own dating what you need and stuff. And I feel like it is a sign of growing when you realize you realize what you need in dating, and not just like a theatrical date's great and all, but like, I don't know. I feel like a nice first date, even if we went on a nice dinner and stuff, you know, it's still, personality's got to come out, guys. That's why I like coffee dates, because sometimes you can tell within the first few minutes that you're like, not feeling this.
Not digging this.
Not digging it. And it's an easy out. You're at a goddamn coffee shop. You maybe got like a snack, a brekkie sandwich, whatever. You know? But that's like low time.
Dating sucks right now for anyone who's single. Hi. It sucks. Everyone is looking for either really specific things in another person, or they have no idea what they want at all. And so have you heard of this term called duty dating?
No.
I love you too. Have you heard of this term called duty dating?
No.
So apparently there's a term called duty dating that I have been practicing. I didn't know that, but apparently it's when you date to find what you're looking for, and you're kind of just saying yes to all these dates, and you're not really that excited to go on these dates. You're just kind of like, I'm just gonna date until I find the person that I'm meant to be with. And I felt like within the last like maybe couple years, I've been doing that. Yeah. Unknowingly. I've just been doing that. And because, you know, I'll say a lot, yeah, I have a date this weekend, yeah, whatever. And I'm not that excited about it. I'm not pumped for it at all. I'm just kind of like, okay, it's just a date. See where it goes. I don't know. And although I think labeling it is fine and all, I think it's also a little harmful, because you never know what kind of connections you'll find, you know? Like, we started out as a date, as we met on Bumble, and look where we are now.
And Charlie, like, her and I had just started dating again, and we just happened to meet because she came up to me, you know?
Yeah.
I also have to add that the last 3 years of a pandemic, people do not know how to act in normal society anymore. And if you were younger and kind of like were getting into your adulthood during the pandemic, do you really know how to like communicate with people at all?
Do you know how to socialize?
Do you know how to socialize?
No. You have no idea. Hey, I think what's funny is that I think I started dating more after the pandemic. Yeah, I think I started going on more dates afterwards. And also, I don't think you lose the ability to socialize completely, because I'm
sorry, just popped up in the corner. just slowly walked in.
You trying to get over here? Okay, cool. I don't think you lose the ability to socialize completely, because there's the internet. And I think we did a lot of socializing on the internet. You know, everybody was playing Animal Crossing, or getting into these group chats, or getting on these IG lives,
which was great to meet people like while we're inside. But yeah, but we're not used to communicating outside of the internet.
In person, you're just like, what the fuck do I say? How do I even
I'm still better in person than I am on the internet, even after 3 years of the pandemic.
Facts, because you don't know how to text for nothing.
Wow, that's rude. Right? People be writing these long fucking texts. I'm like, it's just easier to call me at this point. I can't.
It is.
I'm not gonna write a whole goddamn book trying to make these plans.
I'm a huge voice note person. I like to.
I answer your texts. I text in a normal way because I write in a very like normal English way.
That's the thing. Okay, so for me, I text how I speak.
But I do too. That's exactly how I speak.
I know, but it lacks the emotion
But that's
that
the
I would
problem
usually
about
get in
texting.
person.
There's nothing in
Yeah.
the way I speak. There's an occasional semicolon, maybe a hyphen, but
Maybe a hyphen. Maybe
an M dash, but like there's nothing about the way I speak where I don't use periods.
I get it. Fine.
But that's the problem
Yeah,
with texting, is that you don't get the emotion. Or also, I'm sarcastic as fuck. Sarcasm doesn't translate
yeah, that's
well.
true. Sarcasm does not.
My
communicate
humor
well through text.
does not translate in text unless you've known me for a number of years and you just know how I am.
Yeah.
You start understanding my weird nuances of jokes in texting.
But I mean, yeah, going back to the dating, I just don't think no one knows how to go out with somebody, see it grow, and help it build as well, and stick with it. And I'm speaking from a person that does it herself. I'm a very much like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm very quick to cut it off and to be like, nah, like, I mean, it's not it. Man, my logic is life is short, and I just don't want to waste time feeling unsure about anybody, you know? Like, I just want to feel very sure about somebody right off the bat. And if I'm not, and if it's a maybe, then I just can't. Listen, I'm in therapy now, all right? Just had my first session again last week, okay? I'm working on it, okay? I'm working.
I understand the, like, not, life is short and do what you want to do thing. But in the way I picture it, too, life is also too short for you to also reject everything that comes at you because there isn't an instant connection. And then you do actually miss out on some experiences that you might not know about.
No, absolutely, for sure.
But that's also just showing more of, like, the dating culture around us, too. Because I know you've been on a lot of dates and you're just jaded at this point. It's tiring. Dating is tiring.
Yeah, it's draining. It's like a part-time job.
And
you really have to go hard.
And being in kind
especially
of
if you're
more,
online dating.
I mean, it's still COVID, but it's getting, we're in post-pandemic for the most part. And, like, I feel like people are going out on dates more because they're like, oh, we can go out, I'm gonna do all this shit, I can communicate, I can touch people again, I can talk to them, whatever. But now they're doing too much in the dating. Now everyone's going on too many dates all the time.
At the end of the year, last year, I saw a girl say that she went on 21 dates. Imagine 21 first dates. I only went on 4 last year. 4 first dates. 10 sounds exhausting to me.
When I started dating again, I mean, I didn't, I'm always also an advocate of, like, until we have a conversation where we're exclusive, I don't assume that I'm the only person you're dating. You know?
No, like, you can't, and then
you just can't.
think...
People get mad at that, but you need to have the conversation if you want to, like...
Example, I was talking to a girl, okay, granted, it wasn't a good look at first. I told her, I was like, listen, I'm also dating other people. I'm also talking to other people, because she had noticed kind of like a lack in communication in the last few days. And I was like, well, I'm out. And we hadn't even met, actually. There's so many girls that I've only online dated and we had never met. She was like, oh, I don't like that. Like, I really want somebody to just date me and talk to me. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but...
I know a lot of people do want to state their needs and their boundaries, but not a lot of people practice it in the first parts of talking. I mean,
right.
I told you straight up. I mean, like, and the other friends of mine that I also dated, like, I'm just like, I'm bad at texting. Do you want to meet up soon? I feel like I also said, like, also, if you're not down with that, that's totally fine. I understand, like, meeting a new person that you barely talk to at all.
I'm open to new experiences and everything. So aside from us building the rapport through text, which is something that I normally would do, I was like, all right, let's do it. You seem pretty cool and not a killer. So I said,
thank you for not thinking I'm a serial killer.
And it went well. And it went really well. And I actually really like that as well, because we ended up speaking about so many things that we would have only spoken through text, if that would have kept going.
Yeah.
But I like the in-person kind of initial small talk that you would usually get with online dating.
Yeah, I mean, because
messaging.
I like that you asked, like, actual questions, because you were like, okay, well, in a relationship, are you the one to, like, make decisions? Are you, like, more, you know, and stuff like that. And we ask each other those types of questions. I feel like not a lot of people ask those questions in the beginning, and they wait too long to ask. And I know that seems like abrasive to some people. I'm sorry, but like in the state of dating, I'm sure a lot of you guys are tired, man.
Right. I'm always the one to be like, am I being too nosy? Tell me when to stop. Tell me, you don't even have to answer that question. But like, I ask a lot of questions because I really want to get to know you, right? This is why we're here. We're trying to get to know each other. We're trying to build a connection. We're trying to see what happens. And so I'm trying to get to know you, you know, for real. I'm not trying to ask your stupid, superficial questions like, what's your favorite color? You don't know it's blue. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's just, and also you can see the red flags immediately if you really like ask the real questions. I saw this girl who is autistic and has ADHD, which I've been seeing people abbreviate it as ADHD, AUDHD, which I love that.
Oh, okay, yes.
But she's ADHD, you know. But she says that like because of my ADHD, I have no situational awareness. She doesn't understand nuances in certain situations and understanding people's red flags. And she did a whole video about being dating as like an attractive ADHD person, which a lot of people were taking as like her being vain or whatever. And but I watched her video, but I was like, no, there's pretty privilege, but there's also a pretty like disadvantage for a lot of people, because I've told this to people, male friends, and sometimes when you're just a pretty person, people assume many things about you. There is a pretty privilege, of course, for a lot of situations, but there's also a lot of stuff where you're being assumed, and it happens a lot with women. It obviously also happens with attractive men as well, and non-binary folks, everybody. But it happens a lot with women, and it's hard to just navigate normal life, like if you're just a pretty ass nerd or something, and people are like, you're not really a nerd. You're too pretty to be a nerd kind of shit.
You're not like, into this. You're not into like, anime.
What is that?
You're into Call
And so she was talking about being pretty and having ADHD and not having situational awareness, and that it's dangerous for people like her because men might target her because some of them might be notice that she doesn't pick up on nuances and stuff, and
they'll take advantage of that, and that's it.
And going back to like
of a toxic relationship,
and this is where the important questions come in. I don't know if this will help ADHD people. You know, you let me know if you are, but you coming in with like real ass questions maybe might make it more obvious about the red flags. I don't really know, but for me at least, if we're not on the same level of something, we can cut it off there and not waste the time that people are claiming that they're doing with all this stuff. It's just like, being upfront and blunt doesn't mean you have to be mean, by the way. I think a lot of people correlate those things.
I think that's something that I struggle with. I think
that's not what I was expecting you to say.
I could be very blunt, and it could come off really a little aggressive in the way that I say it, but just know that I'm saying it with love, and I'm trying to work on the way that I execute the way I feel about certain things if it's a negative way. But yeah, I can see that. I mean, I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I feel like I do show a lot of symptoms. More on that maybe a month from now when I speak to my therapist about it a bit more. But I think that's another way, you know, communication could get skewed a little bit when you're talking to somebody, when you're dating somebody, because things come off real aggressive and real like nasty if you don't, you know, say it correctly. There's a way to be honest and compassionate without being mean. There's timing too. I think I saw something. He was saying that he saw this Good Friends play, and he was telling her that like he really enjoyed seeing her play, and he really enjoyed seeing her act, and he's been dying to see her act so long. But he hated the play. He absolutely
I saw this video. I saw this one. Yeah, I saw this one.
Do you remember his name? He's this really
no, I don't remember his name.
Escaping me right now.
I saw this exact video though. Yes.
But yes, so he basically says like there's a way to be honest and and compassionate, and there's a time and a place for it too. She was so hyped up on the play.
Saying that you don't like it
honest.
the night of she's hyped up, she just performed. It's probably not the best time to tell her that you hated it. But you can still say something that is true, that doesn't have to do with your actions. So he said, I love seeing, and that's true. He loved seeing his friend perform, and that she was excited about it, and that was the truth. And then he waited like till the next time he talked to her, and then when she's in a different place, she's not on adrenaline. What did you think
about the play?
And then he was honest about it, and she took it well, and more like took it as like a constructive criticism. But yeah, timing, place, and tone.
Yeah, I think tone really matters to me. I've been realizing that in the last few years, that honestly, I appreciate constructive criticism. I take feedback really well, but when the tone is missing, it puts me off personally. I'm like, no, like, why did you have to say it this way? You didn't have to say it this way. And it's funny too, because like I struggle with saying truths in a compassionate way, and I struggle with timing too. So I feel like when someone is talking to me that way, I'm learning to kind of say the truth of what it is at a certain time and place. Because, it's when you take it, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all when someone's kind of like telling you something in a tone that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's going to affect you.
That's something I have to work on with like both of it. Like me and Charlie both like have issues with tone. Yeah. Also timing.
Timing, it matters.
I've brought up stuff about timing before, like other things. It's definitely something we have to work out, And even though we've been dating for what will be 2 years in the summer, we're still figuring out a lot of stuff. You still learn what a relationship is in a dating.
I love that everyone's in therapy now. Everyone's a really big proponent of therapy and everything, but there's still a lot of people who are not, who are at our age and don't really know themselves that well. And then when they get into a relationship, all of those problems get enhanced and highlighted. Then like you're now having to learn about yourself while you're in the relationship, and also learn that person too.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's impatient. A lot of people.
Oh no, a lot of people.
So I think they get real frustrated in trying to unlearn their behaviors that get highlighted in a relationship, and then also communicate those things to their partner, and also learning their partner at the same time. It gets really exhausting. That is why dating is so tiring. There's so much to think about. There's so much to do. There's like courting your partner. There's learning your partner. There's learning yourself while you're in the relationship. What if you haven't been in a relationship in a really long time, and that's your first one in a minute? And you're getting used to the fact that you are not one person anymore. You are another person. You are a unit now with your partner. But I also feel like relationships don't have to be that hard either. And that's why I feel like I'd be cutting it off very fast if it doesn't feel good, because I don't think it has to be that difficult either. Especially when you're in your honeymoon stage, you can't have all these crazy arguments with someone that you're dating a month in. I just can't. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, but there's like a certain threshold. I mean, you're gonna constantly be learning about each other, and you're gonna get into little arguments. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little sus when I see people who say they don't have any fights. I'm like, you've probably had minor arguments that you've never noticed, but you guys just easily resolved it. There's no way that you guys have not had any sort of argument.
Yeah. I think when someone says they haven't had arguments, and like, I don't know, maybe they've been married 10 years, 15 years or something, I feel like if they say that they don't have fights, it's probably because they discuss.
Yeah, they resolved it quickly.
That's what I think.
Because I'm not gonna lie, saying, oh, we never have fights is almost, not that you should, it's not your job to necessarily make everyone feel like everything's possible. But at the same time, saying stuff like that, I feel like gives other people an unrealistic idea of how relationships are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like everyone's gonna have an argument, but I think the people don't notice it if they mesh well in the fact that they do discuss, or they resolve easily, that they don't realize that they just had a fucking argument. There's just no way.
Like,
There's just no way you haven't had argument. Fights don't have to be this big thing.
No, they don't. They don't have to be scream matches.
They don't have to be screaming matches.
Right. And I think it's also healthy. It's also healthy to let that out, because I also think that when
friendships
you don't,
too.
You build, exactly, and you build resentment towards each other when you don't have these discussions, when you don't have these hard conversations. That's what I think I would frame it as, that. Not arguments, but hard conversations.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe. Yeah, just sharing your ideas, hearing what your partner has to say, and coming together and coming to a compromise.
So when I picture dating and also like finding the person that you want kind of thing, I'm a big proponent of, like, I don't believe in soulmates as in the traditional sense that there's one person for anyone, because that makes no sense to me. Because, not saying that you were, but generally, because when people start dating, they want to find the one. I believe that we have multiple soulmates, and but a lot of it has to do with timing, where you are at in your own development as a person, and those are the people you're gonna meet. This whole the one thing is a bunch of bullshit to me. I'm sorry. It just doesn't.
Because tells us, though.
Have you ever been happy for a person who found love later on? Like, if they lost a partner, they obviously had more than one soulmate. And some people don't date after losing a partner, but like, that's perfectly fine. That's their choice. But it just, there is that possibility that people have found people after losing people and after having bad breakups and stuff. And I also put this in both platonic and romantic relationships for soulmates. I
wanted to talk about that too.
Oh yeah, I believe that in both platonic and romantic relationships, because I have a lot of friends in my life. Like, I have a lot of acquaintances in my life as well too, and I think a lot of people have that, and that's perfectly fine. I feel like we have multiple friends, so like platonic relationships should also be recognized more. People really need to take more stock in their platonic relationships and not just romantic, because I think too many of these people dating and getting tired of all this dating also aren't really diving into their really good friendships and stuff.
I think that a lot of people, and that's just me looking from an outsider's point of view, right? I think that people tend to put their friendships a little on low priority than their actual romantic relationships. But I feel like we've always been taught that way. We've always been taught to,
get married, have kids, that kind of shit.
Yeah, dating is important. Get your partner, whoever it is.
You'll never find a man, woman. Yeah.
Like, we've always been taught that, especially I think in our culture too. I'm Dominican, so I'm
Filipino.
Listen, most of my family is married with their kids already. I'm the black sheep. I don't have a partner. I don't got kids, and I don't see kids in the future anytime soon. I feel a little ostracized.
Yeah.
Because have you ever realized when you go to a family party, you go somewhere and you're the first relative that comes up to you and says,
"Do you have a boyfriend?
What's going on?
Who are you dating?
Boyfriend?"
I don't know why I went to a Filipino accent for that, but that's what I was. It's like, oh, do you have boyfriend?
I went to
do you have girlfriend?
Boyfriend? You got a girlfriend? Like, y la novia, y el novio, like, it's always about the romantic relationships. It's never centralized on the platonic friendships, Like, I remember there was this one time I had a really good friend in the past a few years ago, and we would leave work, and then she would drive me back home, because we also lived like a couple blocks away from each other, so it was perfect. She would drop me off home, and sometimes we would have these long car conversations. They would last like hours.
Yeah.
Like, we'd leave at 5, and like I wouldn't get home till like 8 o'clock, because we would be talking all the time. And I get upstairs, and my mom would be like, "What's going on? Why couldn't you guys come up here? And like, she would always like suss it out, like, what's happening here?" Like, she would always think that it was something romantic.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, no, dude, that's my friend. And we talk a lot. We're gonna talk. We have a lot to say. People always think like, and then when you're talking about men and women, and how like people say that men and women can't be friends because something is bound to happen.
Dude, I hate that.
I think that's so fucking annoying. Like, no, like, men and women can't be friends. Like, queer people can be friends. It doesn't have to be a thing. And I think there's just so much weight on romantic relationships. And, we've been sold that too. Like I said earlier, TV has sold us that. Social media has sold us that. Romantic relationships are the most important thing.
They're the antithesis of your life that you need to.
Yeah. Like, that's your peak, Like, we don't celebrate divorces. We be like, oh, let's say you quit a job and now you're unemployed. Like, now people are just kind of like, oh, instead of like, hell yeah, congratulations, you quit your job. Fuck that job. You're moving on to the next thing. Good for you. It's change. It's transformation. And people just don't realize that this is a good thing. Oh, divorces? Man, that must have been tough, but I'm so glad you're out of there. I'm so glad you're out. You're going to be dating? What we doing? We fucking...
I know. It's like, you want to go do something? Obviously, I mean this for everybody. The heteros, the gays, the whatever, but I will say, as a queer, I feel like a lot of us need to embrace our queer platonic relationships. Any straight people that listen to us, the gays get it too. If we have another queer around, which a lot of straight people will do this to us, is like, oh yeah, I have this friend that's gay. Do you know them? Like, yes, I know all the gays. We have a directory that we have in all our phones, automatically installed when you get a new phone. The SIM card, they ask, hey, are you any sort of queer? And they're like, yeah, okay, we have the directory for you. Like, no, I don't know them. Yes, they're queer, but you live in California. I'm in New York. Like, what does that even mean?
Like, the only thing that connects us is that we're gay.
Well, it's also that comes with being POC as well. Oh, I have another friend that's Dominican, Melissa. Do you know them? My coworker's Dominican. Do you know her? Her name is this, Like,
her last name is De La Cruz. You know what De La Cruz is?
That's my middle name. I forgot where we went. We went on a whole tangent. We went from dating. Right, oh, because we were talking about how, like, culturally we get asked if we know people.
Oh, yes. But can we take a little break?
Yes, I was gonna say that. I saw another brand that does like a similar idea, but they're kind of embroidered in.
Ooh.
But they're like, mostly it's people doing spicy photos for their significant others, so it's like butts.
Ooh, just butts. I like that a lot. You like butts? That's a yes.
And we're back, I guess. We're talking about butts. We got a little serious in that first half, guys.
We got a little deep. We gave
some shits, but there were still little giggles. Because Herbie was just popping in and just like
Herbie was down here going, "I love you," every 5 minutes, right? Right, Herbie?
Don't get him started again.
Okay. So serious, but I guess I wanted to ask you, what do you think about situationships? Do you think that's part of the dating process, or do you think that's something that's outside of the dating process?
I feel like I've been in situationships, like, too many.
Mm-hmm. Do you think have relationships grown out of your situationships, or have they just been situationships?
No, they've just been situationships.
Okay.
I don't know. Right. I think that's also a personal experience thing too. Even though my situationships didn't become relationships, maybe some did. Yeah. It's hard to. Yeah. So maybe it might happen. I don't think it's always something that's gonna happen, but it might happen in this world of dating. Oh, the sun moved. There's more light on me.
Yes. Okay, brightness. I think that situationships, if you have to call it a situationship, somewhere deep inside you knows that it might not ever be a real relationship.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think that situationships aren't part of the dating to relationship process, because I think that, you're dating somebody, you're going on dates with them, and then at some point at date number 15 or whatever it is, you decide to be exclusive, and so you call it exclusive. Yeah, situationships are just what they are, right? They're just kind of like a step above friends with benefits, I feel, when like you know that the person is special, you know that you want to spend time with them outside of like, sex or whatever it is that you're doing. And then, at some point, maybe you two do decide to get into a relationship. I don't necessarily think situationships are part of the process. Even though I know that it happens.
That's what I meant. I didn't say that it was necessarily part of the process, but I feel like it can be something that can happen to people in a process. And but I also think it's part of a growth journey, and learning what situationships are and aren't.
Yeah.
But I think it can be part of some people's journeys, because when you recognize that you're in the situationship and you grow to know that, hey, this is when I should talk to them about having this conversation of if we want to move on into something more than that.
I think most people shy away from that, identifying what their dynamic is. A lot of people, I guess when it comes to like heterosexual dating, I want to say, because I mean, I've also done my share of that, where you get to a point, you're spending a lot of time with somebody, you're asking yourself, mainly the woman, is asking herself, what the hell is this? And what am I doing? And then you bring that conversation up to, your partner, whoever it is, and they're just kind of like, whoa, why do we have to define everything? Why do we have to label everything?
That was a really good impression. Whoa.
Thanks. But yeah, they come confronted with that question. They think it's too much, and then they're like, "Oh, we're backing out of this. Like, I can't do this." But you're just kind of figuring out what the dynamic is at that point, because I think a lot of people get confronted with that question and get scared.
I'm not gonna lie. I want to move away from the question of what is this and more into something that's more intentional, where it's, hey, I want to talk to you about, this is what I want. What is it that you want? I don't like, what is this? Because one, you're putting on the other person to decide that instead of like a collective decision, but also, and that's why I think people back out, because too many people don't like to make decisions. But it's also like, it seems like you're unsure about it too, and there is no real direction either way. I want people to move away from what is this into, this is what's happening. I want to do this, and this is what I want. Do you feel the same, or do you feel different?
And do you want to move forward with what I'm feeling?
Right? Because I'm also not in my regular life, there's a lot of places where I'm very confident and too many places where I'm not confident enough. And I'm trying to be a little bit better about making actions intentional. But this is a place that I feel like people can make something intentional, especially if you're in this dating world and having struggles and shit, and also trying to figure shit out, is being intentional with what you're saying and saying, what is this? Is just not, it's not constructive for you, it's not constructive for the other person. There's no actual direction with that question.
I think it's because most people ask it from their perspective and what they're going through, and they make it about themselves, and then when they bring up the question, it feels very like
you have no explanation. You're just like, what is this? But you didn't express why you're in that space of why you're asking that. I just feel like what is this isn't working for people anymore. For anyone. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. I think it's a much more layered conversation than what is this. Interesting. And I've known people who've been in situationships for years, and they're okay with it, and it's just like, it's interesting because,
is it a situationship or friends with benefits? Is there like a, because I feel like the people are okay with it. Maybe it's an actual just constructive friends with benefits, because I had that. I did want to date them in the beginning, and we had that discussion in the very beginning.
If you're in a situationship and it's so obvious that you don't want it to be a situationship, you want it to be a relationship, an actual defined thing, then maybe that's where the problem lies. But, again, that's up to the person, not anyone else. So, yeah, we can move on.
Well, this project was for me to try and see if I can actually do something consistently. for more than a couple
And we
of
haven't.
weeks.
We made
you
it past
know?
episode 7.
I know, which statistically, guys, I learned that a lot of people stop podcasts after the 7th episode because growth isn't fast enough and it's slow, that people just kind of give up on it. And, you know, we don't have like a huge following right now, but we're trying. We're doing our best.
And I think that the fan base is growing. Thank you for everyone who watches or listens, and you do consistently. That helps a lot. But I think also we enjoy talking to each other every weekend, and we get to do this, so it is fun for us. And I think that's what keeps me going. It's actually, being consistent with something is something that I have to work on very, very like a lot. But getting to do this, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like something fun that I get to do with my friends. So that's what keeps me going every week.
Thanks. You just like having fun with me.
Yeah.
Friendship. Platonic relationships. Yeah.
I don't have anything in here anymore. So
I'm disappointed.
I have water though. I do have water though. Yay for hydration.
I mean, I have like one more thing I had like on the list, but is there anything that you wanted to talk about?
I think that I had lots of thoughts about dating earlier, so I'm glad that you brought it up. I'm glad that we got all those thoughts out because that's what
I was triggered slightly by this TikTok, instant dating, and everyone being all pissy about coffee dates. I got triggered.
Yeah, I think because I've been going through some stuff with questioning my sexuality again and questioning if I ever actually do want romantic relationships. I'm in my 30s right now, so I'm thinking about kids a lot and if I even want them. I feel like I don't. I think I want to be the cool auntie for the rest of my life.
Yeah, same. There's other stories that I was seeing, like, that where people find out, like, whoever they're dating didn't want kids, or, like, I saw one that was really fucked up. This girl has, like, a disability, and during their first date, like, she was just like, oh, I can't have kids because of just my health issues. And this man was just like, then why are you dating men if you can't have kids? As in assuming that all men want to have kids. I also believe that not all men want kids.
Oh my god. Really quick example, but on the button, there was some dude, he was like, yeah, like the button was like, he wants to have a big family. And then I guess the girl that he was talking to said like she doesn't want kids.
Yeah.
And he buttons her when the button lit up.
But at least you know.
And then he was like, how could you not want kids?
Oh, okay, then that comment.
And that question, it triggered me so badly.
Normalize women not wanting fucking...
You ain't carrying them. I get really triggered by this. But men who get upset about women not wanting kids,
fuck y'all.
It lights me up. It lights me up because
look,
if you want kids, you don't really go through the brunt of the work. Oh yeah, you're not going through it. You don't know how hard this. It's also
decision is for a woman. Easy to just say you want kids, someone doesn't want kids, and you're just saying, okay, this won't work. But men go out of their way to hate on women that don't want kids. If you want kids, that's totally fine. Just move on and find someone that does. I'm actually indifferent about children. If I had kids, I would love that kid, and I think I would be a good parent. But my desire in my heart and what I want, I don't necessarily want kids, but I'm not going to be completely fucked up about having kids, if that makes sense.
A couple years ago, I have decided that, if I do have a partner at some point in my life, I mean, I don't know if I would want to carry. I don't see myself carrying. I can't. I don't know. Things change, and
yeah, things change.
You can change your mind at some point, but me, I do not see myself with belly at all.
I would complain too much being a pregnant ass woman, bro. I can't.
I can't.
Depending on the women too. Some women have easier experiences. Some women have terrible. Yeah. It's like periods, bro. Like none of us have the same experience with that shit. One, I don't get bad cramps anymore like I did as every period, but now I get these fucking death months that I call twice a year. where for a few hours in the morning, I just feel like absolute dog shit. Like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I might actually throw up. You never really know. And I also have to be in the bathroom for several hours because I'm shitting my brains out.
Man, if you're listening to this is the part where you put it on mute or
no, fuck you. Listen to it. Fuck you. Listen to it. Because I'm gonna tell you fucking right now. I'm gonna tell you fucking right now.
Do you use tampons? Do you use a cup? Do you use
pad? You and I talked about this. I use tampons now, but I do want to. I've been wanting to switch to cup, but it's just really hard for me to figure out which one fits me correctly, and I'm apprehensive about it. But
I will say that after I switched to the cup about 4 years ago, I want to say that my cramps are almost non-existent. Like I used to have a really bad first and second day. That's what I've heard
from people.
And now they're not that bad. My periods last like maybe 3 to 4 days max. 4 days max. But usually like I'm not on my period too long.
My death month starts that I wake up in a cold sweat and I feel like fucking shit.
Lorrie.
And then I'm just like, this is when I know I'm like, oh, it's death month. And I can already feel like I'm gonna want to throw up. And I may not throw up. I might just dry heave for like an hour. Sometimes I do throw up. Who knows? And then I also I'm just in the bathroom for like 2 to 3 hours because I'm almost throwing up and or shitting my brains out. Sorry, guys. And this is a poop story. We talked about farts in another episode. This is a poop story. The first time
So when you're on your period, do you shit a lot? Because when I'm on my period, I feel
I do.
Constipated.
No, I definitely have period poops.
It's because so
I'm also gassy as hell on my period.
Oh, gassy I am for sure. Because that's why I'm so constipated. Like I think it's gonna be shit, but it's really just gas. And the thing is that I confuse my cramps with a stomach ache, and I think I have to go to the bathroom, and then I don't. And so your body acts like it's gotten food poisoning before you get your period. That's fucking wild. Have you gotten tested for PCOS?
No, I have thought about it though, to just get generally tested for many things. But like
endometriosis, you know what I mean?
No, I thought about it. Oh, that was my other note. Was we're not very educated on women's health whatsoever. Or, I mean...
Absolutely not.
Let me correct myself. Uterine health, because everyone identifies as a woman. So, people with uterus owners, studies in terms of, like, medical things, especially older ones, and not stuff that are currently being studied, were studied on white people. And not just white people. Most likely white men. And some white women, you know? And a lot of stuff is still out of date. And we also aren't educated in at least the U.S. Sexual health. We have really bad sexual health education. Even with all these bills and trans health and all this other, people are just afraid of the word sex or anything into anything, which may not even really be about sex. It's just about sexual health. And that literally just means your body, your sex, and what it has to do with your health.
I just want to acknowledge that yesterday was Trans Day of Visibility.
Yes.
Happy Trans Day of Visibility.
Obviously, when this releases, it'll be past that. But
when this releases, it'll be past. But
to my
all our trans babies,
to all my trans homies, love y'all.
Love you so much.
Okay, I can't find the exact statistic, but there is a possibility of especially Black women and other POC to have more complications with periods. That's the most I can get right 100%. Now. I don't know the exact one that I was quoting in my brain, but yeah, it happens. And we're just not educated on that. And people are so weird about sex education. But all these stories that I hear of, like, all those TikToks and podcasts that, like, read Reddit stories and stuff, there's so many people in the world so uneducated about their own bodies, let alone, like, a man or anyone else that don't have these things. Or male identifying, or people who don't have a fucking uterus.
Lots of people around the world, though, that do have uteruses don't have access to that medical care or that medical knowledge.
But,
and some countries,
don't know anything.
They do not have, they block that access. So that women or people with uteruses do not have to know and don't have to take care of their bodies, you know? Like, you know, people don't understand that abortion is also preventative as well, you know?
I forgot what
it's something that's necessary in some cases. And no matter what, it's that's a whole other topic completely.
Whole other topic.
That's a whole episode in itself.
It is. But it's just, there's so many medical things that people really don't consider as preventative, and all of it is. Even with the trans bills, people talk about gender affirming care, and they think it's just people getting like top surgery and stuff. But straight people are the biggest consumers of gender affirming care. You can look it up. I encourage you to look on Google. But heterosexual people are the biggest consumers of gender affirming care, because there's things like Botox, or which I advocate. If you're taking any sort of like enhancement pill, that's gender affirming care. Stuff to make you feel more manly or more feminine or whatever it is that you feel in your own gender. Those are gender affirming cares, bro.
Wow, shout it from the rooftops, because I feel like people don't understand that. I think that people.
I didn't even give good examples, but
top surgery is a breast augmentation. You don't realize that. That's again a whole other episode.
I didn't even bring good.
We can do that if you guys like.
Yeah, let me know. I didn't bring the best examples, but gender affirming care. Yeah, people just assume it's like one or two things, but it's many things.
Yeah.
Damn, we're getting real deep today. We gotta give people a warning.
Real deep episode.
But I feel like this goes into our
episode.
And if anyone thinks that doesn't go into what our structure of our podcast is, we're 30s dirty and Thoughtin. And I feel like all this healthcare shit, you really, really don't start understanding really until your late 20s, early 30s, because I know in my 20s I didn't pay attention as much as I should have.
What? Absolutely. Listen, most of my 20s I was...
Also, we're thoughtin'. These are our thoughts, guys. What we thoughtin'. These are the things we thoughtin'.
We're thoughtin'. And this is why we're here. We're here to think, and we're here to talk about all our thoughts. Do you watch the show Harlem on Amazon Prime?
It's like Sex and the City, but in Harlem. I thought about watching it, but I didn't end up watching it.
But I saw an episode the other day. It made me really think about kids. Going back to the kids thing, these two women, they're both friends. They're in the main cast, but one of them is heterosexual or dates usually heterosexual, and the other one is queer. And the queer one is successful in tech and everything, and like she doesn't really think about kids or hasn't really had a good partner ever. And she went to the gyno with her friends, who was trying to figure out if she was pregnant or not. And the doctor kind of basically mentioned like, hey, like maybe now's a good time to count your eggs, and to maybe freeze them if you're into that kind of thing. Watching that episode made me think about maybe a doctor telling me like, if I have my egg count low, maybe that's something that I'm wondering going into the gyno and asking them like they could count my eggs and see what's going on there. I'm in my 30s now, 30 and fine. And I think about this kind of stuff, and I think it's an important time to think about it. But I say that because women's health and knowing about every facet of it is really important. So I don't know. It was just like a nice thing to see, and how it's being portrayed in the media. It's I mean, it's important.
But on the other point of women's health, the whole time I was also thinking how we don't really get good education about uterine health is that episode of Orange is the New Black where Tacy doesn't know you pee at a different hole that you put a tampon in.
I know what you're talking. As soon as you said it, I knew what you were talking about. And
they're like, what are you talking about? Like, you pee when you have a tampon in. And people think that's crazy that a woman wouldn't know her own body. But when you're not educated by your own body and you're too afraid to even look yourself because you think it's like wrong.
When society tells you it's wrong to look down there and to see for yourself and to investigate
you don't learn
the parts
shit
of you that make you a woman.
And so, yeah, and if you're like sheltered in oh my God, I saw this other thing. Basically people who got out of religious cults, but also people who grew up. I know plenty of religious people who are who were raised fucking normal, and this shit isn't normal, bro. Like, it's people who grew up in extremely religious households that they weren't allowed to. They basically learned nothing about themselves, sexual health, any of these other things. They didn't know how babies were made. They didn't know what the world was, because they were so sheltered. And people, it's, to me, being so sheltered is so mind-boggling. But like, at the same time, I know there are people that are so fucking sheltered, whether it's a religious cult or just being raised in a family that didn't let you learn about anything because they're like, oh no, you shouldn't learn, you're too young to learn about this shit or whatever, and you didn't learn anything. And then you end up getting in bad situations when you get older and don't know how to date, don't know how to take care of yourself, don't know how to do anything.
That's why I think kids should know everything. They're impressionable, but they're also really pure, so they don't have any judgments on anything. Because as we get older, we learn that things are not supposed to be.
They also don't really have empathy yet, and I feel empathy is learned.
Yeah, kids are hella honest. Kids see what they see, evolve. And then they voice it.
And so that's why all these like bigotry and hateful attitudes are fucking taught, guys. Because I told that story about my niece who was like, "That's gay." That was it. That was the whole conversation.
That was it. Because kids don't know what is wrong and what is right, and they just observe what is, and they kind of take that and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure." Unless someone tells them this is wrong, which is, it's usually a parental figure or an adult that like has their own biases on, a certain group of people or whatever. Unless they know that, then, it
don't get me
is
wrong.
what it is.
I think there is a percentage of the world population that you could probably be a good parent and still just you just happen to birth a sociopath. But I feel like that definitely can happen. But for the most part, I think for the average person, like, behaviors are learned.
What they know and what they grow around. Yeah, like, I think it's the same, you can say if a kid is raised vegetarian or vegan, that's all they know. And for them, that's what it is. It's what their life is. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. That's just what is.
And
I think that kids don't really know what right or wrong is unless somebody tells them. And they feel shame about it afterwards, like it's an authoritative figure telling them no. Shame happens, and then they're like, oh, okay, then that's no good. Because if we continue to impose our biases on them, then they do not get to be the humans with their own identities after they grow up. And that's what the issue is, especially when people, growing up in the South and they're taught these things, how people are now taking laws away from people, like learning about slavery and learning about how, people of color were treated back in the day. It's just like, how are you taking that knowledge away from somebody? You're taking the knowledge away from somebody. You're not giving them a chance to make their own conclusions about history. And when you take away that choice from somebody without giving them all the knowledge, then that you're stripping them away of their rights, of the possibility of them knowing more and thinking more critically more, and that's what it is. Like, the less you know, the more possibility it is of you just staying stagnant, stuck, and that's another form of manipulation and control. And again, another episode.
But I mean, that's why there's a lot of talk, and especially for in therapy, about unlearning things, because it was a learned behavior that we've had generally. So, man, there was another thought I had in my brain and I lost it.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I mean, I'm just ADHD and I lost my train of thought. So I was going to end it in a specific way too. And I'm going to spend too much time trying to figure that out. But
if you think about it, just put a little bubble over here.
I know. Just put like a thing
in the notes,
real quick, just little notes. It's some crazy times we're in, broski. This is the most serious. This is the most shits we've given. I mean, we give some shit sometimes, but this is like the most shits we've given.
I think the shits we gave,
I think,
dominate this entire episode. So I'm
after like Trans Visibility Day, and also just the weight of the world right now. The Congress.
I think we make this show to serve as a sort of escape from the world and what's happening. But
so we apologize that we're bringing up real world issues, because we are. I want us to be a break from your workday. This is why we do it on Thursdays. It's not quite the weekend. It's not quite the beginning of the week. You don't have much happening, and you're just waiting for the weekend. So come have a laugh with us. So our apologies for getting a little serial.
It's laugh heavy, but we want you guys to know that we do care. We think critically, and we're aware of the climate and what's going on in the world. Sorry, it's not an ultimate reprieve from what you're used to, your regular CNN news, but I think it's a good conversation to have.
We still had a few little laughs. Herbie was a fun little guest.
Herbie was a great guest. He's around. Yeah, I think
we have a few little laughs here and there, but you know, this was our giving shits but still some giggles episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might happen from time to time, but it still goes within our world of living in our 30s, going through the 3 decades of us living and what's currently happening in our world. And just thoughtin'. It's not quite dirty, but it's thoughtin'.
Not quite dirty today, but we're still thoughtin'. We had some small little TMI moments. Watch out for those. And if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, please things you might want to bring up again to us, please let us know in the comments. Give us some feedback. We'd love that. And
please hit us up. Please, since we are such a small podcast, it would be very helpful for you to like and subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify or both. Why not? Depending on how you feel. And message us in either comments on YouTube or DM us on our social pages. We're at 30s Dirty Thoughtin' on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The only thing that's different is our email. It's 30 dirtythoughtin @gmail.com. And yeah, sorry to get serious on y'all, but it's a Saturday. It's actually weirdly nice outside, I think. My window's dirty as fuck, so I can't tell if it's
nice outside around there.
So, but thanks guys for hanging out and getting a little serious with us for a hot minute. So peace out, guys.
But hopefully there's some discussion, and yeah, man. See you guys next time.
Bye.